Welcome, this is JCT TV. This is Bible study for the 21st century. So great to be coming your way, friends. Don't forget that JCT is the official spokesman, voice of WOW, Working for Orphans and Widows. You'll see a promo about that in the course of this program. But we are a comprehensive ministry that incorporates not only biblical exposition, vis-a-vis taking you slowly but surely through the Gospels, but also engages you in a work with orphans and widows in various countries around the world where there's a tremendous need. And we really appreciate your support. Okay, the Bible study is coming up with an interview right after this.
Jim Cantelon Today is a program dedicated to the teaching of the good news of Jesus Christ. This all through the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. JCT also brings to you encouraging testimonies and stories from Christian leaders all over the globe. If this program has added value to your life, would you please consider becoming a partner? To do so, simply contact us by phone, mail, or online.
And as I said off the top, Kevin Shepherd is back with me. He's a pastor of Glad Tidings Church in Burlington. He's a remarkable young pastor, very successful church, really booming, doing a great job. But we had a great conversation last program, and I'm looking forward to just picking up where we left off. Kevin, we were talking about being preachers' kids, both you and I, and our relationship with our fathers and the consistency of their lives. And now, pardon me, our relationship with our own kids, mine are grown and gone. I think one of yours is gone.
Yeah, living at home actually while attending university. So.
Okay, and the other one's still in high school.
Yep.
Let's shift gears a bit. You mentioned last time your kids being inundated with information. I don't know if we've got to the point yet where we're even understanding what's going on with social media. Mm-hmm. Sooner or later, probably in the next few years, there's going to be courses taught at seminary about the impact of social media on the average North American's life. Mm-hmm. What are you finding in terms of your pastoring? You've got about 1,500 people you're pastoring every Sunday. Is social media an issue yet? And if so, how is it emerging as an issue?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think we're only beginning now. There's some studies that they had just done a 10-year study on, and they're starting to see some of the impact. But we don't need studies to tell us how negatively it's impacting this generation and so many people. The access to information is great in so many ways, and so I don't want to stand here and say social media is all bad and technology is all bad. I'm actually an early adopter. I love new tech and innovation, and I have a lot of stuff in my home is smart home technology. I think some of it's really, really effective, helpful, if it's used and managed in the proper way. So many of us are letting our devices control us instead of us controlling our
like
devices.
6 to 7 hours a day on devices.
Yeah.
I mean, people are always shocked. No, that's not true.
Oh, yeah.
And then they check those apps that tell them how much time they've spent, and they're shocked.
Yeah, no, it's astounding the grip it's got. And now, so many are experiencing FOMO, or the fear of missing out. And if constantly, vociferously checking their device to see if somebody texted or if they didn't, it actually creates an anxiety within. It's a devastating thing that's gripping so many people, and we just need to learn how to navigate it and manage it. I got to talk about it way more than I want to with our congregation.
As a pastor myself, I don't want to be cynical here, but it's just the truth. It seems to me, on Facebook and Instagram especially, people want to put their best face forward.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm happy, my family's happy, everything's great with me. Look at these shots of the great time we just had out down at the lake, yada, yada, yada. Time and again, I see these posts from these happy, functional families. Mm-hmm. And as their pastor, I know that they're this far from divorce.
Sure.
And things are not going well. Essentially, basically, they're, to use an old English word, prevaricating. Mm-hmm. Lying is maybe a little bit strong, but they're certainly misrepresenting the reality of their lives.
Yeah, and I think in a comparison sense, we're victimized by what I call comparisonitis, that we just can't stop comparing ourselves to other people, and we often compare their highlight reels to our blooper rolls, right. And so our life never feels like it compares, and as a result, we then try to do different things in order to manufacture a different kind of lifestyle. Imagine if we all lived up to our Instagrams. Life would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Like, it would be fantastic.
In fact, we'd have no need for Jesus because none of us are suffering from original sin.
So good, right.
We're all perfect.
Right. Yeah, right.
There's a definite downside, I think, in social media, and this sounds very harsh, but I throw it at you just for your response. It seems to me that it's a tremendous vehicle, or can be a tremendous vehicle, for gossip.
For sure, it's a bifurcating place. It's actually one of those places where social media will say your opinion matters, everybody's opinion matters. It's very important. People will put their opinion out, and then if they disagree with them, they turn heteronymous with them and say you can't do that, and this is not appropriate, not okay. So it's quite unstable. We live in what lots of people are calling a VUCA world.
VUCA?
VUCA, so volatile, unstable, complex, and ambiguous.
Whoa.
And so a lot of organizations are trying to figure out how do you navigate a culture that's VUCA. Things are volatile. You don't know when someone's going to, go off on you about whatever thing. It's unstable. There's no common ethos any longer. And so it's unstable for people. They don't know how to navigate character in the midst of an unstable world. It's complex, it's not simple, and it's ambiguous. And
there's this thing now called fake news. And now they're actually producing videos that are fake videos, where they can actually make you morph into someone else or have you saying things you've never said. It can be very damaging. And I'm just wondering, as the culture becomes more and more distrustful of what's being published in social media, I wonder if the day will come when they're distrustful of what they're hearing in the pulpit.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. But here's where I think there's an opportunity for the church. Yeah. I think we could get, concern, and maybe there is some level of that that's appropriate. However, I read a significant report recently about we're now entering into what's called the post-digital era. The digital era was all about organizations, churches, trying to become as digitally mature as their clients or individuals or congregation are. And we've been trying to catch up because people became very digitally mature a lot quicker than organizations could. We're in the post-digital era, so while some organizations are still trying to gain digital maturity, the post-digital era is going to be based on trust. If you think about it, a lot of these, I don't know if I can say that Amazon and Walmart, some of these organizations are working on trying to build trust with you because of all their smart technology. For example, again, I'm an early adopter, so Amazon, to avoid porch thieves or people who are stealing your packages off your porch, they send a signal to the person who's delivering my Amazon Prime package to open my garage door, to put it inside my garage and shut my garage door. So I have to trust them to do that, though.
Now, that's because you have a smart home.
That's because I have a smart home.
Right.
But they're wanting to do this as technology goes on. I think we have an opportunity in the church to become the place of trust. And it takes character, it takes integrity. But if we build authentic, like we were talking about, build authentic relationships with people, genuine love and care for them, we can be a place of trust to lead them ultimately to the person that you really need to trust the most with all your heart and all your life.
And what goes around comes around. I mean, the biblical message is to love and trust God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself. I mean, that relational integrity is critical to not only a great life here on earth, but to engaging the life that is to come. You've been pastoring how long now?
Ooh, 22 years.
Really? That long?
Yeah.
You don't look like you've been pastoring 22 years, I'll tell you. What has changed in pastoring from when you began to now?
I would probably be embarrassed if I saw my early sermons.
All of us would. Not just to see yours, but to see mine too.
You'd be embarrassed to see mine.
I'll be embarrassed with you. You'll be embarrassed with me. No, I understand that for sure.
The culture has shifted so rapidly. I mean, it's amazing the challenges that we have today compared to the challenges when I started. It's very different.
What did you think is maybe what would these be moral challenges or intellectual challenges, combination of the above?
Yeah, I would say yes. I think, I had a conversation with some of my leadership team recently talking about some of the ways we're trying to walk along with people in our congregation and the issues that they're facing and working through. And they are complex and challenging and emotional and overwhelming. It's no longer, the issue is not whether we sing 2 hymns or not in the church. Like that. Yeah. I mean, it's not that. It's families with kids that are wrestling with gender dysphoria and so many other types of challenges. It's a complex world out there.
The gender dysphoria thing, I mean, that's just really hitting the radar now. And again, we're not going to really know the implications and the long-term impact of this for perhaps another decade or so. I've been asked about it. And I am not interested in getting into an argument. That to me is counterproductive. My response simply is this: a soul is a soul is a soul. And if someone has a heart for God, sooner or later, they'll be found by Him. Whether or not they've gone through sexual confusion or through drug addiction or through criminal behavior or adulteries, promiscuities, all of these things are symptomatic of that deep soul hunger for God. And ultimately, as a pastor and as a biblical teacher, my responsibility is to point them to Him. Yeah,
amen. That's the challenge and opportunity for us as pastors. I read a quote recently from Ray Ortland, who said something to the effect of, pastoring a church at the level of its doctrine is different than pastoring a church at the level of its culture. And it's a lot more challenging to pastor a church at the level of culture versus doctrine. But it's far more important and engaging. And that's what we try to do. We try to pastor, lead at the level of our culture. Because people not only want to know if it's true, they want to know if it works today. How is this going to change my life? How is this going to impact?
And what is the relationship then as a pastor and a Bible teacher between the culture and the biblical teaching? Do you lead with the culture and fill in the gaps with the doctrine, or do you start with the doctrine and fill in the gaps with the culture? Do you blend the two? Do you sell out, if you will, to just a seeker-sensitive model, or is there some balance, some both and rather than either or?
Yeah. I would say, Timmy, we're blended. I would say I probably lead that way on every area of my life. That I think it needs to be held in tension all the time. Tension's actually really good and really important. If you're holding too far on one side or the other, you're probably going to come down on the wrong side of it. So I think it's important for us to be teaching doctrine and understanding the fundamentals of the faith and building our life on that, obviously. But if we do that to the ignorance of what our culture is wrestling with and struggling with, and we don't have a chance.
And the Bible is always relevant, as you know. Amen. It's just the problem is with those of us who are trying to expose the Scripture. Amen. We're the weak link.
Oh, absolutely.
I certainly am.
Yep.
Kevin Shepard, pastor of Glad Tidings Church. He'll be back with me again next week, and I'll be back with our Bible teaching segment right after this.
Friends, as you know, Jim Cantelon has been offering Cantelon's Casual Commentary as a Bible study supplement to his ongoing exposition of St. Matthew's Gospel on JCT TV. He's excited to offer Volume 4, which completes the Matthew study. The Transfiguration, Triumphal Entry, Crucifixion, and Resurrection of Jesus Christ are all covered in this volume. Like the first 3 volumes, it's concise, captivating, and casual. To order your copy, you can call, write, or go online. Request Cantelon's Casual Commentary Volume 4, and for a gift in any amount, it will be sent to you. When you place your order, also consider becoming a monthly partner. Remember, your gifts help us build this ministry.
So over the last few programs, friends, we have been with Jesus in Matthew 26, in Gethsemane. We were there when he's arrested, and then Jesus before the Sanhedrin, Peter's abject denial, disowning of Jesus. And then last program, we got into Jesus, being sent to Pilate and Judas hanging himself. And we read that passage. I haven't commented on that part yet. But I just want to get back to, look at verse 2. First of all, the people plotted, or it's really the elders of the people in the Greek, plotted against Jesus or made plans to put Jesus to death. And when they had bound him, what? Why? Why would they bind Jesus? I guess protocol. Maybe they figured we finally got this guy. We don't want him to escape. We don't want his disciples to break in and release him from our grasp. Whatever. But anyway, they bound him and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor. Okay, I talked about Pontius Pilate. I just want to say more about him. I mentioned last program that being the procurator of Judea was a punishment for any Roman official. We don't know what Pilate was being punished for. Maybe he was a junior officer. We don't know. But there he was, living in Caesarea in luxury, but about once a month he'd come up to the Antonia fortress in Jerusalem, live there for a few days, and do whatever a procurator had to do in terms of legislation and affecting Roman law. One thing we do know about Pilate, he wasn't very culturally sensitive. He'd not been, given lessons in what to do and what not to do in Palestine. Like, for instance, one time he brought troops. He had about 1,000 troops, with him in Caesarea. So 1,000 troops coming to Jerusalem, that's pretty impressive. He brought these troops into Jerusalem. Maybe it was his first time in. It probably was. Without removing Tiberius's picture from the insignia on their shields and on the horses' bridles and so on. And this, of course, to the conservative Orthodox Jewish population was idolatry, and it was verboten. You don't do this. And he had to pay the price for that. And so he learned you don't come in with insignia on your soldiers' shields or paraphernalia. Another time he seized temple funds to build an aqueduct into Jerusalem, and I'm not sure of this, but I believe it was the aqueduct, parts of which you can still see, that come all the way from Bethlehem. You would think Jerusalem being as high above sea level as it is, you wouldn't be able to reach it with an aqueduct with, gravity feed. Bethlehem is actually higher than Jerusalem. And so from water reservoirs there about in kilometers, maybe 10 kilometers away, 6 miles away, they were able to bring water to the cisterns in Jerusalem. Anyway, he seized temple funds to build this aqueduct, and the people were not happy. He got lots of pushback on that and had to make amends. So Pilate was he's a Roman state functionary. There's nothing to indicate he was very intelligent. There's something to indicate here that his wife was more spiritually sensitive than he was. But anyway, This is the guy that has to, if you will, sign on the dotted line that will take the Sadducees and the Pharisees and the Sanhedrin off the hook in terms of effecting Jesus' crucifixion and make it a matter of state. They wanted Rome to crucify Jesus, not them. Okay? So while that's going on, Judas hears about it and he's stricken with conscience. Seeing Jesus was condemned. He was seized with conscience. I think, let's look at it here, remorseful. And he brought back the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned by betraying innocent blood. What's that to us? They said, do with the money what you will. And in self-disgust and probably great emotion, Judas threw the money down on the floor and stormed out, and in great distress hung himself. From that day to today, no young couple wanted to name their baby Judas. He has become synonymous with treachery and great human transgression. Just like nobody wants to call their child Hitler, nobody wants to call their child Judas. You know, it's a sad story. And now I have to point this out because I need to be honest with the text here, friends. There is this, and I call it eccentric, reference to Jeremiah's prophecies in verses 9 and 10. Let's look at it here. Then was fulfilled what was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, and they took the 30 pieces of silver, the value of him who was priced, whom they of the children of Israel priced, and gave them for the potter's field, as the Lord directed me. Now, Matthew says he's quoting Jeremiah. Well, these words, and you can check, I'm not being a liberal here, do not appear in Jeremiah. Okay? Rather, they appear in Zechariah, and I can give you the reference, chapter 11, verse 13 of Zechariah, one of the minor prophets, just before Malachi, just before the book of Matthew in the New Testament. So what's going on here? There are occasions in the various manuscripts that from which our Bible, developed, where there is a misquote or there is a slip of a pen, scribe who's, copying it, and there was no way of copying scripture other than by hand in those days. Maybe he was sleepy, made a mistake. There's no satisfactory explanation for this. It's just the truth. So is this an error in transcription? Now, it's interesting that the Jewish theologian has this view that, as they put it, the spirit of Jeremiah, as was the spirit of the elders, had passed on to Zechariah, so that Zechariah's words were Jeremiah's words. Even as David was seen as the author of the entire Psalms, which he wasn't. I mean, the sons of Korah, there was Asaph, there were a few anonymous psalmists, even Moses has a psalm in there. But, we talk about the Psalms of David. Well, that could just simply be the case. Zechariah's words were Jeremiah's words in the culture and the theological tradition of the time. I kind of think that's probably what's going on here. Or, some have suggested that Matthew quotes from memory and he just simply remembers incorrectly. I'm not going to quibble over these things, nor should you. But I couldn't go through this without pointing it out. If I'm going to be an honest expositor and teacher of the Gospels, which I'm trying to be in my limited way. Okay, so Jesus said to the governor. This is Matthew. Pilate. Matthew has Pilate saying, "Are you king of the Jews?" And Jesus said to him, "It is as you say," or "You have said so." Jesus at that point had not referred to himself as king of the Jews. This is not a title that he had chosen for himself. And Jesus being mute on that issue was a source of great frustration to the chief priests and the elders' charges, because they just couldn't nail him down on that count. So Pilate, for his own reasons, his Roman, magisterial and procuratorship reasons, wants to, get him to say he's king of the Jews, so that at least gives him a little foot in the door in terms of promoting Jesus back to his authorities in Rome as an insurrectionist. If you're going to crucify the guy, he's got to prove to the Roman officials and to Caesar that, you know, he was doing the right thing and protecting the state from this dangerous zealot. That's what's going on here. And of course, Pilate is not happy when he hears this because it doesn't really help him at all. And I've lost total track of time. Director, how am I doing? About 30 seconds? Okay. You know, as I take you through this, increment by increment, I really am doing this intentionally. I don't want to gloss over anything. I don't want to rush. In some ways, I kind of see myself like I'm providing you a verbal picture, almost like I'm making a movie for you that's in slow motion, so that, you know, you can kind of feel and see and smell, you know, along with me, this remarkable passion narrative that's unfolding before our eyes.
JCT TV is the official voice of WOW, working for orphans and widows. Jim Cantelon is the founder of WOW and has been ministering to orphans and widows in distress for 18 years. WOW's focus is home-based care for the dying. The horizon is vast, with thousands of the least of these in Africa and India. WOW depends on your generous support. To do so, simply contact us by phone, mail, or online.
Now, friends, I got big news about Cantelon's Casual Commentary. The first tranche of Mark is ready to go. Chapters 1 through 9, it's 55 pages. A lot of you are enjoying Cantelon's Casual Commentary. I'm able to fill in a lot of blanks that I'm not able to cover when I'm doing the television teaching because of time. That's just the way it is. And so I'm sending it out to you when you ask for it. Now, Matthew, as I say, is already done. A lot of you have received Matthew, 4 tranches, the entire book of Matthew. And I do it in this style, in this shape, with appropriate print, so that it fits into an envelope. Easier for me to send it to you, and you can tuck it in your Bible, in your back pocket. You know, it's very convenient. But it will be coming out in book form sometime soon as well. Remember, when you're supporting us, we need your support, because we are not only a Bible teaching ministry, but we also are working with orphans and widows in Africa and India. Our ministry is called WOW, Working for Orphans and Widows. Thanks for your help.